Welcome, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm the Director of Research at Palo, and Palo is an SEL specific design for middle school. Our approach is very different. What we're trying to do is we look at SEL as a process, not a curriculum, a process that requires everyone's involvement and led by you, school counselors. Our product is a comprehensive solution that will bring students, teacher, and counselors all together. And our goal is to empower you to be the SEL leader in your school. Today, I am honored to introduce our panelist, Cynthia Koffel. She was a school counselor and now podcaster and life coach. Cynthia, would you like to say hi to everyone and then maybe share some interesting fact about you?
Hi, everybody. I was in school counseling. I was a school counselor for 25 years and in education for 31 years. So I have a lot of experience and I did K-12 at different times. I only did K-12 at the same time for 2 years, but I mostly was in the high schools, but I have done all levels. So I do understand. And I was also a special education teacher and I was a special education counselor for a little bit of that time too.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. And then later on, when we uh, jump to different slide, you'll see this little microphone in the top right corner. This is where we can have a discussion all together. And then this is also a time I'll ask Cynthia to share her thoughts on the approach that we're talking about, and then also potentially her experience if she has implemented this when she was a school counselor. All right, so first, we want to do a welcome and inclusive activity. So data is a very big word, a big buzzword that's going over the country basically, besides AI. And so if using one word, that one word that comes to mind when you hear about data, feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself to share how do you feel about data when you hear that. So we'll have Dawn saying it's for her it's evidence. Cynthia also shared her thought it's confusing. And time consuming. Sumi also shared that it's power. Um, Jerry said it's productivity. That's interesting. First time hearing productivity. But it does make it very effective and that translates to productivity. All right, and today's goal is if you have any negative feeling to a data, we want you to feel from confusing, maybe worry, to happy and excited to see more data. So let's talk about today's learning objective. Today's goal is that I want to help you guys to identify different types of data, whether it's within school or using tools that we provide later in the presentation. We want to help you to collect comprehensive data. That means from school data, you conduct your knee assessment, or even just walk around in your hallway and take down notes on your observation. And then at the end, I'm going to share a 90-day action plan with you all, where you can follow along from collecting data in the first 30 days to analyzing data after your data collection, and ultimately be able to use ChatGPT to generate a small goals based on your school's profile, challenges, and constraints. And don't worry, we'll give you the prompt where you can just copy and paste, so you don't really have to figure out what the prompt is. And then I personally have tried out dozens of prompts, so this prompt will definitely work for you. So let's first talk about quickly why data. We all understand the importance of data. We heard words as power, productivity, evidence, and what data informed school counselor do is that you consistently review your data and then try to look for trends across grades or year. And you're basically looking for two types of trends. One is inequality in students' achievement, opportunity, or attainment. or student needs. Those are typically challenges of maybe a student or a particular group of students. And typically they have low attendance or more disciplinary problems or other issues that they have. So first, let's talk about where is data. Cynthia and I, we were just talking about this word before everyone jump in, and we're talking about what is data to counselors. There are a lot of ways to use data, and then even you'll notice on the hallway is a point of data. Your observation actually is the most insightful thing that you can collect as data. School data might be able to show you that some students have low attendance, but you might not know why it's causing that low attendance. And your observation in the hallway or even into the classroom will provide you the best insight of what you can do to help that particular student. Here's just a bunch of lists of how counselors can use data for. So Cynthia, I wonder what's your thought on this, and perhaps you can give us an example of any items on this list. How do you use data to help you with your counselor program?
Well, I could say that we've used all of those, but one that came to my mind just as this webinar started that I'd forgotten about was when I was at the high school, we realized that our minority students were not signing up for our advanced placement classes as much as the general population students. And as a counseling department, we targeted that area and then we invited kids specifically to, like, we looked at scores and stuff, also that data, and then we picked kids that probably should be in advanced placement that weren't choosing advanced placement, and then we had them come in and talk to them specifically about, hey, you really ought to join this class. And we, a lot of them were just afraid that, oh, is that going to be a lot of work, or I don't know what happens in there, so I'm too afraid to do it, or my friends aren't in there. So we would talk to them about reasons why they should take advanced placement. And we had many kids choose to enroll that wouldn't have otherwise. And so we kind of helped a different set of kids see curriculum that they wouldn't have seen. And it was just by us talking to them and sort of helping their fears about why they should or shouldn't take those classes, because a lot of times they get that information from their friends or they don't bother to find out. So that was one way that we use data. Did you want me to expand on that?
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
I thought
I was going to say,
I thought my
I
mic
don't
I
hear
thought
you.
my mic was on, but it was actually mute.
Okay.
Happens all the
I'll probably
time.
do that too.
Okay. Well, now you can hear me. I was gonna say that thank you, Cynthia, for sharing your experience. But what I want to point out is that that's a great way to a reactive approach, right? You want to look at your data trend and identify who are in trouble, and then you want to help it out. However, there's a limitation to preventive reactive approach. And what I want to accomplish in this webinar is by the end of this webinar, you will no longer look at data as a reactive source, a reactive approach source. What you will do is you will use your data to create preventative approach in your school counseling. And then we already know what the difference is. If you shift it from reactive approach to preventative approach, not only that you can reduce incidents, you can improve overall student academic performance, but mostly you'll have less trouble to deal with, less severe challenge to deal with. And that's what we're trying to do today. How can we use data to develop preventative approach that we started doing it in the beginning of the year, rather than waiting until the end of the year and realize that, oh my God, there's so many students who are in trouble, and now you are run out of time to help them out. So let's talk about the types of data that you should be able to collect. And I want to categorize them into two types of data. The first type of data requires very, very low effort, right? These are the things that you're able to just kind of knock down your door to your admin and ask them, how are a student doing? Can you give me their academic performance data? And these are the data that you can simply acquire through asking your staff, your principals, your IT guy in your office. And the second type of data requires a little bit more effort. It usually requires a tool such as knee assessment, student climate survey, or you physically go into the hallway, go to students' classroom, and look for red flags. And this is all the data that you can potentially look for. And these are two types of data. One is very low effort. I strongly suggest you guys start looking to this 4 type of data from your school admin. And then if you have more time and then you have those tools in hand, then you can administer knee assessment or have someone to come here to do a climate survey or collect your own observation on Google Doc or something like that. And don't worry, we prepare some bonus at the end of the presentation where we'll share you Google form of the knee assessment and also a framework that help you to basically document your observation and make it useful. Now you have a pretty good understanding of what data you should look for, what the low effort data you should start looking for, and then what the a little bit more effort data that you require some tools for you to collection. Let's do, sorry, I wasn't changing slides, but this is the more effort data that you will need to look for. And this is the two types of data that you can look for. And then we want to talk about how to use the data. I want to do a quick checkpoint. Right. So I want you to ask yourself, when we talk about data, how do you feel? And why is that? And what do you think is the need? What do you think you need to make sure that you are able to use that data? Cynthia, can you talk about your experience as a school counselor? How do you feel about data in general? And then what do you think you need in order to make the best use of that data?
Well, I knew it was important, but I didn't like the time consuming part of it. And also, all the different places you had to go to try to collect it. And then a lot of times I wasn't sure exactly how to make it work or how did there was probably some kind of formula or something. And I feel I'm not saying all counselors are this way because, maybe some of them were math teachers before or good at math or all of that. But for the most part, I feel like the people that I worked with, we loved relationships and we loved people skills and we loved, we were in counseling because we wanted to have relationships and counseling with kids. And when it came to numbers and data and stuff like that was not usually what we were gifted with or understood how to do. So when I think about this, what I needed was for it to be easy. I needed it to be something that I could plug and play or something that was maybe tech. And I know people who don't have a big school wouldn't have that opportunity, but we did ask our tech to kind of condense all of that into one form that we could look at. And we still had to do stuff with those numbers, but we needed it to be quick and we needed it to be something that we could understand quickly and move on with instead of having to do all of the legwork to get all the numbers and to put them all together. And then what do we do with them? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then that's exactly what the presentation is for. And then I think before it might be hard for us to understand data, especially as a school counselor, you're looking at so many things at once. However, thanks to ChatGPT, now you can ask the ChatGPT to compile your observation and your data to give you small goals, which you can start acting on. And just exactly how Cynthia described it, right? What she needs is not amount of data. It's how can I make sense of this data so you can continue to develop meaningful relationship according to the information that you know. Do you have anyone else who would like to share how you feel about data and what do you think you need in order to make this data more powerful for you? You can feel free to share in the chat Oh, actually, we do have one. So Jerry said that she feels powerful because it tells a story, and what she needs is it's buying from the team. That's great. I think that's such an important issue is that counselors know so much about school, but not enough support from the school, including their staff. And I think there might be some issue with the counselor. Okay, I'm not saying that it's an issue with you, but there's certainly a gap because the amount of information that you understand is not translating to the understanding of the staff, especially the teachers. And so later on, the ChatGPT will help out with this, and then you can turn that into something that your staff can understand. All right, so let's talk about how to use data. It's actually not that complicated. After doing tons of research, it really boils down to 2 questions and 2 analysis. So let's take a look. Just remember, it's all 2 for 2. I came out with that thing. Hopefully you remember. So what are we trying to do consuming all this data? What we're really trying to answer is these 2 questions. What does the student data tell us, and where should we focus on our effort? There's no lack of effort, there's no lack of motivation. It's just that there's so many things to do. Which side should I focus on? And by doing the 2 analyses, you will be able to pinpoint what's the core cause of the issue that you observe, and then you'll be able to tackle the right place, the right time, even the right people to deal with that problem. So let's go into the big 5 first. This is simple. We all have done this, but what you really want to do is when you look at all the data, whether it's from school data, from your own observation, or from your need assessment, you just want to ask what, when, where, who, and why, right? And this will give you a very good clarity of what behavior you're dealing with. When does it happen? Where does it happen? Who is contributing it? And then why is this happening? Whether it's because of the staff or it's because of the students or has nothing to do with the school. It has to do with parents or maybe it has to do with COVID. And once you get into the why, the next analysis that you want to do is the root cause analysis. And this is actually easier to do, but it takes some time for you to think deep into this. It's to continuously ask yourself why. Why is this not working? So I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's assuming the problem is the tier 1 programming is not as effective as you expected. The first you realize that, oh, because students are off the task, they don't like the curriculum, they're not engaging with that. But you can further ask, like, why is that the case? Maybe it's not because of the curriculum. Maybe it's because they don't have enough coping skills to calm themselves down. They're so impulsive that getting distracted by all the noise and colorful posters in the classroom. What can you do? And then you ask yourself further on why, assuming the reason is because you realize, oh man, they missed a year or 2 of school due to COVID. Of course, they don't have the social skills. Of course, they don't have the coping strategies. So now the reason is because they don't have coping strategy. It has nothing to do with the tier 1 program. Then you continue to ask why, and this can go into many different routes. In this case, I'm assuming you guys already spend so much time on everything and your hands are so full, you just basically cannot do anything else. And this might have to do with not enough support from school, or simply as there's just not enough you out there and they need to hire more of you. When you are doing the root cause analysis, this is very, very important for you to engage with sorry, I forgot to change the slide again. So this is the process I was walking through earlier. And what it's very important when you're thinking about the root cause analysis is you have to engage with student, teacher, and parents to get their insight. Because oftentimes, even though you have a lot of information in front of you, different people might bring different information to you. So you can really think about the whole picture of the issue and then really tackle the root cause instead of just focus on the surface of the issue. So imagine that you have this observation and then you immediately say, okay, this is a curriculum issue. Let's switch out the curriculum. and then you realize the career still doesn't work. Now you're stuck. So that's the importance of the new root cause analysis. Now, Cynthia, I wonder, what do you think about this? And then can you tell us why it's important for a counselor to do this kind of analysis before they decide what the solution is?
This really reminds me of collaborative problem solving, and some people might have been trained in that. I had not the full training, but I had part of the training. But I remember this came into play with one of my students who was new, and she came new in the middle of the year. She was foster care, so um, when we put her in the class that she was supposed to be in, and because it's middle of the year or middle of the week even, the seat that was available for her to sit in when we sent her to the new class was towards the front of the room. And she immediately had behavior issues really from the very first day. And when we would try to talk to her about it, she really couldn't verbalize a lot of times, like, why. It was just like, I can't stand to be in this room. And as we kept asking the question, why, and we were doing that with her, like, well, why does this bother you? Or what about this class? Or what about this teacher? It turned out that it was just because she had things going on behind her, and she was very nervous about anything being behind her because of past trauma or abuse that had happened to her. And as soon as we realized it's because there's commotion or things going on behind her that she can't see, we put her in the corner where there was walls around her, where she just had the one area and she could always see a person coming up to her, and it changed the behavior dynamic. And so we just had to keep asking the question why, and I'm sure you're all doing that. When you can't quite figure out what's going on with something, you just kind of keep digging deeper until you really get to the root cause of what is really, because the behavior, we could see a bad behavior in a class and think all sorts of things about why they have that behavior. But if you keep asking why, you can get it figured out.
Yeah, that's a very interesting case, and I would never imagine that the root cause is because her back is wide open and there are a lot of things going on. Um, I often I always ask why when I'm dealing with someone when they are facing a challenge. But Cynthia, can you elaborate more on how do you kind of use your empathetic skills on this? Because I feel like you do have to be curious and empathetic when you are asking a lot of those questions. Otherwise, they don't feel. I feel like they won't be able to open up themselves and share that with you.
Sure. Well, almost always those conversations happen in my office one on one, or sometimes because that was towards the end of my career where I was the special education counselor. So I would usually bring in the special education teacher that writes the IEP of that student. And sometimes, they would be there as part of that questioning because that helped them to get to the right information so that when they were writing accommodations or modifications in the IEP, they could use that information. So I think it was doubly important for us to be getting to the root cause of things because there was programming that was being created for that student. But we always did it, in a one on one or 1 to 2 maybe situation. And a lot of times I did some of the questioning myself. And it was just, being curious. I always see myself not only in the counseling role, but really in my life with people that I enjoy as friends or with my own family members, as seeing myself as a scientist. I'm always curious, like, well, why do you feel that way? Or what is happening? Or how did this situation come about? And even if they're saying things that might be triggering or feel personal, trying to stay neutral and just saying, "Oh, that's really interesting that you feel that way. Tell me more about that." And if you just keep asking them to tell you more, usually can get to those things that are really the cause of why they're feeling that way.
Yeah, I think that's a great way. I think curiosity is definitely a key, and I like how you put it into a research project. Like you just want to know what is happening over here, and then once that it's your intent, I think student can resonate to that. Thank you for sharing that tactic. And then as as Cynthia was talking about, that it's more of a student level intervention. Um, in our research, what the root cause analysis can really help you to understand is give you the clarity of what is needed. Is it more one-on-one is needed? Is it switching seats? Or this is more of a teacher's issue that requires you to facilitate professional development? Or this is more a systematic issue that you have to talk to your leader about this? And as you can see, if it's one-on-one, it's easy, you just like call the student in. But if it's a PD, in order to require that kind of buy-in, you have to have data to back it up, right? And not even talking about leaders, if you're talking about principals, if you don't have enough data to back it up, you probably even cannot even get an appointment. And so this is where the data can really empower you as a counselor to become more and more influential in your faculty meeting. Now let's talk about, we have talked about all the good things, all the good foods that you can eat on your Thanksgiving dinner, but let's talk about how do we cook it? How do you make this happen so you can finally take this data to your staff and to your principal and say, this is a stressing issue and then we have to deal with it. Here is the data. All right, so we come to the most important part, and that's why you guys are all here. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of resources to use. And everything can be done in 90 days. And that's why we have this 90-day action plan. So let's take a look. We already have all the attendings email, so we'll send out an email with this link attached. Just make sure you make a copy instead of using this sheet, otherwise no one else can use it anymore. There are 3 phases. You can look into it. They're very straightforward. The first thing is to go collect data. As we say, there are data everywhere, from your school, from your own observation, from your tools. Phase 2, look into it. Use the 2-for-2 analysis. Look into where, what, why, when, how. Who are involved? Where does it happen? How often does it happen? And lastly, look into generating your small goal using ChatGPT. All the resources are attached in the 90-day plan. I'm going to open them up one by one, and then I'm going to walk you through how to use each document. The first line, you guys all use different learning management systems, so that I have no resources for you. You just have to talk to your admin about it. But if you ever have a chance to go to your hallway or even step into any classrooms, this is a great framework for you to look into it. If you're looking for individual challenges, you can note down the student that you observe, whether they have any changes in academic performance, behaviors, things like that. This can help you to take notes. If you're looking for a school-wide intervention, this is how you want to observe. When you see enough students, did you see any dynamic change in the hallway? And which week is that? How often does it happen? This is where you can document that. But of course, you don't have to go with the framework. You really just have to have time to step out of your office and interact with students. And that's the key. It's not about the document. If you want to use the knee assessment, this is developed by the, who developed this? Oh, by the West Virginia Department of Education. They developed this knee assessment, which is very, very comprehensive. Later on, when we send you an email, you will have the access to the form. And what you need to do is, again, click on the right top 3 dots and make a copy. Otherwise, your student response is going to mingle with the other students' other campus's response. I'm going to show you guys in sample what that looks like once you have collect your information. So once you distribute this questionnaire to all your students, and when you get enough responses, I mean, hopefully you get more than 8 responses, because this is our markup data. You'll be able to see just a general ideas of how many students needing help making friends, they feel they fit into school, peer pressure, all the good stuff over here. This is somewhat long, so make sure that your students have at least 15-20 minutes to fill out the survey. But once you do this once a year, you should have good information of how your student feel about this. And then you can again do it at the end of the semester and see if it improves. It's always good to do a pre and post assessment on your students. And then you should have enough data to analyze, right? Looking into the big five, continue to ask why, collaborate with all your stakeholders, ask them why do they think this problem persists? What are the potential causes of those problems? Engage as many people as you can, talk about all the discrepancy, inequality, or trends that you observe on your data. And then once you have enough information, you can use ChatGPT to generate your SMART goals. I know we all hate SMART goals. I don't like to write them either. I don't like it at all, but it's so useful for everyone. It's very, very easy for you to convey your idea to people who don't understand how much work you have to put it behind this, but they can understand what they need to do and then what's going to be measured. Here's the instruction. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to show you how you can do it. So first, go to, oh, not this chat, the other chat. Search ChatGPT. Click on it. It's completely free. So if you haven't started using it, please do, as it will be a life-changing experience. If you already have a school account, you can just log in via Google. In this case, I'm going to log in through our company account. And once you're here, what you have to do is come to this template. And again, make a copy. Don't mess with this. Make a copy of this. You can fill out your school profile. Right? What's your ratio? Let me make it bigger if it helps. How much time you're spending on them, or anything you want to add to it. Okay, this school profile will help you to help ChatGPT to understand your school's strength and weakness, so they can tailor the recommendation and their SMART goals for you. And then you want to talk about the concern area of concern. This can be anything that you observe on your data set, whether it's in the hallway or from the school data. And if you don't feel like you have attendance improvements, I mean, you don't feel like you have attendance issues, you can just delete that. You can take that out of the equation. We don't need ChatGPT to analyze it because it's not part of your concern. If you feel like you have more concern in the attendance, what you can also do is just add another data point to that, right? So now they have a better understanding with 2 data points of your attendance. So feel free to customize this, but do delete anything that you do not want ChatGPT to consume so it doesn't get confused. Once you copy and paste this into ChatGPT, it will be able to generate a SMART goal. So I'm going to copy this into my ChatGPT and I'm going to delete some of it. And the funny thing is, if there's no data input, ChatGPT will just make a bunch of assumptions. So I'm going to, oh, actually, let's do behavior issues because I feel like that's more relevant. So we'll delete this part. This is the referral. Okay. And it's going to start making up data, but you should input all your student school information here if you can, right? So in this case, we're just going to let it run. So based on the assumption of how we can reduce discipline referral, here's the small goals that it populate, right? It generate this, and then you can now look at this and see if it fits for your school's need. It also talks about the explanation of why they suggest you this small goals. And as you can see, this is very, very generic. It's because I didn't put anything in there. But once you enter your information about your school, the areas of concerns, this will become more specific and tailored to your school's need. And then if you want to ask more about it, let's say I really like this small goal, and then the explanation makes sense to my school, and I want to know more about this. I want to have ChatGPT to help me to design this program. I have to follow a prompt where you can use. And depends on what you want to deal with. Do you want to increase stakeholder buy-in? Do you want to develop a curriculum for students? Or do you want to develop a training program for your staff? Or you just need a general implementation plan, or you want to think about how you can measure the success of this. Let's say I want to generate a PD for area concern 2. So I'm going to copy and paste this over here, replace that bracket. And now the ChatGPT is going to help me to develop a training program for the staff that will implement the program. So let's check it out. And now you have a plan to go with. Right? And of course, this is not going to be entirely accurate. You still have to rely on your expertise to tailor it, but at least you don't have to do all the, I guess, the most time consuming work, which is coming out with ideas. Now you can just bounce off idea with ChatGPT, right? So let's say you already identify the training topic. You can tell them that, hey, my training topic is this. Let's say you already decided what time it is. You can tell it what time is it, and it will give you a more specific goal. But it will all basically take out all the heavy load of generating ideas, and then you can tailor it to your needs. You can go ahead and try different follow-up prompt. We'll also share this document with you. It's also attached in the 90-day action plan. All right, so let me quickly summarize this. The first phase is to collect data. You can rely on the Google form that we created to do a counseling need assessment. I'll suggest you to do it in the beginning of the semester and the end of the semester to see whether your program is working. And the second thing is you can download our observation guide. If you have time to go on the hallway or even visit a classroom, this will be a great tool for you to document all the changes or different patterns that you can notice. And lastly, we'll provide you a ChatGPT prompt for you to play around with. This ChatGPT prompt will help you to generate a small goal tailored to your understanding of your school, whether it's the challenges or what you're trying to improve on your campus. So, final checkpoint. Hopefully by now you feel confident because now you have an actionable step to take. Collect information, understanding information, and use ChatGPT to generate the small goals that you need. And then you can bring that small goal to your stakeholder and drive impact to your school. Once again, this comes back to the beginning of the webinar where we talk about we need to shift from a reactive approach to preventive approach. And then as Cynthia describing earlier, the toughest part isn't do you have the best practice? The toughest part is how can we get other people to on board? And although we all hate small goals, they are a great tool to get people on board. And hopefully all this tool will be able to get you to create a very relevant and measurable school program to improve your school climate, reduce behavior issues, or simply just increase their academic achievement. All right, so we talk about a lot about data collection, and Paolo, we're here to empower you. We have something called Counselor Dashboard where we can share data, and our goal is simple. What we're trying to do is we want to make you the most powerful person in your faculty meeting. Paolo's goal is not just to deliver SEO to your students. We want to empower your counseling practice, make you become data-driven and influential in your faculty meetings, and more importantly, help your student to thrive more effectively. And we have been developing a lot of products. We're doing a lot of research and we'll continue to host webinars like this to share our research and our innovative thinking in terms of how can we increase students' mental wellness. Just to give you guys a quick glance of what a counselor dashboard looks like. What if you have Palo in your school, you can reduce some trip to your hallway. I wouldn't say that you don't have to go to your hallway anymore, but you will reduce some trip to your hallway because not only that, we are going to help you to flag students who might be at the verge of crisis. And you can also click on a student and see that student's profile. And in that student's profile, you'll be able to see their feeling trend over time. And then what do they say in our SEL program? Middle school are interesting. Students, I'm not sure if you can still agree with me, but after talking to a lot of counselors, sounds like middle school is a student who are they don't like to tell you things, but they want you to know things. And this is the perfect medium for that because they don't want to tell you, but they are happy to tell to the computer. But if they know that you know, they actually are really happy. This might not work in high school, this might not work in elementary school, but it works particularly well in middle school. And that's how this product will work for you. If you're interested in knowing more about our product and how Paolo can help you to detect red flags and provide you student insights, feel free to scan this QR code, or I'm going to share this appointment link in the chat where you guys can schedule your appointment with us, and we can show you how Paolo can be your SEL solutions. We're all really here to contribute to the cost to help students to have good mental wellness, because we understand that if students are in stress or they're dealing with their trauma, there's no way they can perform in school. And we really think this is a fundamental need for a lot of students, whether it's for your tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3. Um, but what is different from what we're doing from other SEL vendors is that we're here to be your partner. And we think as a comprehensive solution that bring all stakeholders together, not just a curriculum for your teacher to facilitate. All right, so that's a wrap. Do I have any questions for me? And also feel free to send me an email if you want to. Most importantly, please come visit our website regularly because we will host webinar like this every month. And if we have more and more people attend, we might do more often. And then very happy to see everyone here. We're all here for our students. So don't be afraid to reach out. Even if it's not product related, I'm happy to share our insight from our research with you. You can also type your question in the chat if you're shy from speaking out. But that's basically the webinar here. I'll be here for another 5-10 minutes to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Hi, this is Bruce. I want to say thank you.
No problem, Brace. Thank you for joining us.
Michael, I will give you a tip in like if you pull up maybe any of the Google Docs or probably the Docs where you said make a copy.
Yes.
At the very end, I have to get my glasses, but where it says edit at the very end, if you just take edit out and put copy on there, it will force a copy. So anybody who goes, then they have to make a copy. And so that's how I send all of my things is I take that, whatever is past the last hash mark, it usually says edit, but it can say other things, but you just take that out and put the word copy. Then anytime you send that link, they have to copy it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
okay,
that could be good for the counselors too.
Yeah, I will send you guys this link instead of my link, so no one can make any mistakes. All right. If we don't have any more questions, we're going to kick everyone out. No, I'm kidding. I'll still be here for another 5 minutes. But feel free to stay if you want to chat. Otherwise, hope everyone have a good day, and hopefully you're all excited to go collect data and figure out what will be a relevant and measurable program for your school. Thank you, guys. Okay, it just says here now. Let me stop recording.